Hello once again everyone, and welcome back to 20 Things No One Tells You About Fencing, and today we're going to talk about how the sword moves around you. So, I had a long think about it, and I wanted to just boil it down across traditions and weapons as much as possible to explain the nitty-gritty of here's how a sword moves, here's how it should move, here's some things to think about it, and once we get that baseline, you should be able to apply that to whatever specific weapon you're working with. And for this, I'm just illustrating it with a saber. So, all of your attacks are born from a position. That position should be something of readiness. Generally speaking, that's a guard, either engaging or not. From there, your sword will angle itself to be ready to attack, be it with cut or thrust, and from there it will attack in a straight line into some form of a long point. That's your maximum extension. After that attack, it's going to return back to a place that is anchored near you. Sometimes it's the same place, usually it's an opposite. And from that position, you are guarded on the line you just attacked from against pretty much anything that could come back in most immediate return, from which you can either prepare a new attack down a different straight line, or instead you may move your sword over to guard the original line you started from. That's pretty much it. So to go into a little further detail, the biggest thing that really helps people and makes the difference between my attacks are too slow versus now my attacks are truly efficient is that idea of straight line. Point A to point B. The more you can just go forward in all of your cuts, even if you are purposefully cutting through something, right? You're still making sure that for that brief moment, it's all in maximum long point, maximum extension as it hits your target, and then the rest carries on. The reason that this is sometimes harder to get used to is because really putting your mind into extension is a little bit tricky, right? It's one of those things that you're going to struggle with for a while, and then you're going to get, and then you're going to continue to struggle with as you try to get it even further and make yourself do it reliably. For this, the easiest thing to think about is just to use the word throw. So if we're giving English language to a lot of these, non-English texts, the translation a lot of people choose for cuts is to throw. And I would even use it for thrusts as well. For thrusts, I use extend a little more, but throw is still the same idea. You want to think about projection. The more you can put something out and away from you, throw or cast or what have you, the better. Because the motion of swing, that implies a certain amount of strength and hardness. You're braced for impact, and that causes people to tense up, that causes people to not reach out for it, or it causes them to do things like stepping ahead and swinging because they're trying to build up power. It has a certain it has a certain meaning to it that we maybe don't always consciously think about. Throw, that always has extension, that always has out there. Extend is another good word that people, like I said, move into, right? Cast is a great one. The whole thing about it though is, again, I should throw, right? And then I can worry about anchoring it back. As well as this, being aware of where your actions actually start from is what's going to make that most efficient. So, for example, I'm focusing on just using an outside guard here, right? I need to make sure that when I'm prepared to throw, in this case, a one cut, I'm not, way over here, and I'm not way over here. It should be, all I need to do to prepare my one cut is pretty much just turn my hand slightly forward. Now my sword is in the perfect angle it needs to be for casting that one cut. Same thing could be true for a lot of other cuts, right? I'm having trouble cutting downward. Well, are you standing as idealized as you could? Am I centered? Is my hand actually behind that sword? Am I ready to cast out in a hard cut when I'm ready, right? Things along those lines, or for more complicated positions, right? Okay, am I really where I need to be for this corkscrew thrust, right? Or am I really anchored into my shoulder and I'm square and my body's ready and the rest of me is under it? For getting that nice shot down the line, that nice zorn, right? Your starting position matters, and that's why your guards look the way they do, right? Again, this is kind of getting into shapes, but the more you can start from a good spot and a consistent spot, the easier it will be for you to consistently throw extension. And all the extension is just straight lines. Now, in regards to where you go afterwards, this is also one of the more important ones. All of your attacks have 3 points. Where it starts from, where it ends, long point, and then where it will go afterwards, right? Ends is in where it hits, then ends is in true termination. Once the cut is done, where's it going afterwards? The most simple way to illustrate this is to just go starting, overhooks, hitting, long point, finishing, all right? Easy. The thing about it is, just in the natural course of my cut, I end up there. But what you want to, of course, very soon and very start actively thinking about is, it's not just where about the weapon ends, it's also about where I'm actively putting the weapon. So benefit here, I'm starting high, I'm hitting, and then I'm finishing, intentionally giving an invitation to my head so that I can then do my next action, which is to load myself high again, defending myself at the same time, and I can repeat the process, right? So it's one ape slapped another, this is what humans are good at. So there's that sort of idea, which is kind of baked in naturally. But then there's the idea of more active defense, like I did before. So I'm in the outside guard, I angle my one cut, I throw a one cut, and I return on the inside guard. Most actions cross your body. Even thrusts or things along those lines, you generally speaking will somewhat lock out a side, right? Or the next opening will be either where it originated from or the side you didn't deal with, right? Point is, whatever you're trying to attack into, that's where you want the most amount of your strength. So I see the opening on this side of you. I want to make sure that in return, probably the only reason there is an opening on that side of you is because you are threatening me here. I want to make sure that after it's done, I am locking down where you could potentially go first and keeping an eye out where I will potentially go next. There are, of course, more directions than just the two, but it's the same thing over and over and over again. I've already got you locked out when I deliver my thrusts. I keep you locked out so I don't open anything preemptively, and I keep my eye out for in case you try to go into the other hole. There are more lines. You could, of course, worry about high, low, all that sort of thing, but it really does just boil down to pretty much just one side or the other, high, low. That's only 4 choices. Even if it is something that comes in a 45, ascending, descending, it's still the same general speaking idea, right? And you will have plenty of things to defend yourself from where they're very easily moved from. Once you're in, for example, my inside guard, oh no, that cut was ascending, a little bit lower. Oh no, that cut was coming down with a little more force, a little more tip across, or even if I need to, a little bit lift of my hilt, right? Oh no, that cut was coming in, to a new target. Should be pretty easy to move my hilt to that target. New target, pretty easy. Okay, new target, weird angle, pretty easy or pretty easy. The point is that where you finish is just as important as where you began. Because if you do your actions and then after they're done, you're just kind of jelly, you're not going to be able to defend against either after blows, parry riposts, or what have you. And also, you won't be able to then renew your second attack, which is the next important thing. Doing more than one cut in a row takes a lot of practice. Doing more than one thrust in a row takes even more practice, right? The point of it is, though, is that I should think about the idea of everything I did the first time. So start in good place, angle, fire in straight line, hitting in long point, return to good place is still true. Start in good place, which needs to be where I just finished, angle, fire into long point, return to good place. Even if I'm doing something more complicated like a double cut, it's the same exact idea, right? Start in good place, angle, cut out into long point. Now return through good place. So if I'm going to now cut up from below, I am temporarily moving into a position that would also be good in its own right before I launch that next cut and angle, right? So land, guard, angle, cut, long point, guard. Same idea over and over and over and over again. This may seem like kind of a well, duh sort of video, but sometimes you just need those sorts of things explained matter-of-factly and repeated. Because again, as you try to do more complicated things, what usually means they break down is that you're not moving through those anchor points, or you lose sight of that straight line, which, let's briefly talk about that with movement. The straight line is always me to my target, no matter what. So even if I am moving offline, that doesn't mean that I'm suddenly cutting over there. I'm still cutting at you, right? I'm still guarding in relation to me and all that sort of thing. So when you start doing things that cause you to move wide, I'm gonna make something up real quick, right? So I'm gonna do a cut out and then a cut back down, right? I need to make sure that in the process of that, I am keeping my body square to my target. So I don't turn myself away, that wouldn't do any good. I make sure that this stays toward you, cut out, and then I load myself up into that good spot because I finish, load, And now when I cut back down, I need to keep my attention on target, and I can step forward or backward, doesn't really matter. Cut back down. And again, where it finishes matters. So now I can either defend myself again or launch my next attack. The more you can work from these spots of good place, extension, good place, you're never out of position. The only other decision you may need to make is, do I stay in this good place and move distance, either forward, backward, or lateral? And that's really about it. That's why there aren't really a ton of guards. There's positions to cover these little niche angles, and so that you remember to take them, but generally speaking, it boils down to high, low, right, left. If you can do that, and you have a guard for each, you're doing pretty fine. And as long as your position is one that you can very easily angle an attack from and fire, and you're taking the time to angle that attack and fire in as straight a line as possible, rather than letting that angle start to influence how your action looks, then you're good. Give your extension its good due diligence. Make sure you're completing your extension, because from complete extension is also how you will then return to another good place. The recovery is just as important as the attack that brought it to the point of needing a recovery. And that's true if you lunge, that's true if you do a passing step, that's always true. Where you finish matters. But otherwise, thank you all very, very much for watching. We'll go over some other techniques another time.